Hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, is a process by which natural gas is extracted from shale rock deep beneath the Earth's surface. Fracking involves drilling nearly 2 miles vertically into the ground and then hundreds or thousands of feet horizontally. Once wells are drilled, a liquid mixture of water and various sediments and chemicals are pumped into the ground at extremely high rates of pressure. This liquid injection effectively cracks or fractures the shale rock in the ground, releasing natural gas which can then be harvested. To gain more insight about the fracking process, we consulted Dr. Terry Engelder, a Penn State professor and leading expert on hydraulic fracturing.
So James reports that this is a normal rock. Does a normal rock smell?
I'd say it smells like just a normal rock.
Okay, so this smells like a normal rock. Now what I'm going to do, you're going to hear this. I'm going to break an edge of this off and then hand it to James. We're going to bend over like this, and then I'm going to hand that to James. Now what does that smell like?
That smells gassy.
What James has just smelled is natural gas that is escaped by breaking the rock. Now hydraulic fracturing does the same thing, but down in the earth. And hydraulic fracturing is designed to liberate gas from the rock.
Hydraulic fracturing is used at various natural gas reserves all around the country, the largest of which is in our own backyard. The Marcellus Shale is a unit of sedimentary rock buried beneath the Earth's surface. The shale comprises much of Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, and West Virginia.
Marcellus Shale is a very fine-grained black rock. This is a piece of Marcellus right here.
The fracking operations that occur in the Marcellus Shale often take place near small, rural communities in these states. Many communities have found the use of fracking to be a stimulus to the local economy. The effects of this stimulus can be seen by examining the town of Towanda, Pennsylvania. A small community of less than 3,000 residents, Towanda's experience with fracking was recently highlighted by NPR's State Impact series on Pennsylvania. In Towanda, the onslaught of the natural gas industry began in 2007, when various energy companies began setting up fracking rigs. Many Towandans believe that the presence of the natural gas industry lightened the blow of the Great Recession because the industry provided jobs, primarily with trucking companies and equipment suppliers. But the natural gas industry has not only created jobs related to fracking in Towanda, it's brought in lots of new residents who stimulate the local economy by eating at the town's restaurants and shopping at its stores.
Towanda today is far better off, and there are far more jobs today than there was before the fracking boom started.
Towanda serves as a microcosm of a phenomenon that is occurring in similar towns all across the Marcellus Shale region and other fracking hotbeds alike. Fracking and the natural gas industry have kept the recession at bay in rural areas that would have otherwise likely been devastated by economic hardship. In fact, in Pennsylvania, counties with 200 or more fracking wells saw an increase in per capita income more than twice the level of counties without any wells. And while individual towns with fracking operations are experiencing economic growth, the natural gas industry has been yielding some environmental benefits in the aggregate. Because natural gas burns cleaner than fossil fuels, its use in place of other, dirtier fuel sources like coal has contributed to a decrease in America's overall carbon dioxide pollution levels.
During the summer of 2012, the U.S. Energy Information Agency published CO2 emissions trends for the United States. It showed that since 2007, the beginning of the fracking debate, U.S. CO2 emissions had decreased for a first time in a long, long time.
This decrease in carbon dioxide pollution is significant because carbon dioxide is a potent greenhouse gas and a primary cause of global warming. This has led prominent politicians to voice support for fracking as a fuel source to bridge the transition from fossil fuels to renewable fuel sources.
We should strengthen our position as the top natural gas producer because, in the medium term at least, it not only can provide safe, cheap power, but it can also help reduce our carbon emissions. Bottom line is, natural gas is creating jobs. It's lowering many families' heat and power bills. And it's the transition fuel that can power our economy with less carbon pollution, even as our businesses work to develop and then deploy more of the technology required for the even cleaner energy economy of the future.
Although natural gas does burn cleaner than fossil fuels, this environmental analysis fails to take into account the environmental hazard posed by the hydraulic fracturing process. The most prominent environmental concern of fracking is groundwater contamination. Though there is a lack of scientific consensus regarding fracking's effects on water contamination, the testimonies of those living on the front lines of fracking cannot be ignored.
I can often hold a standard kitchen match to my water, and like I said, it is unpredictable, but the methane randomly travels with the water, and sometimes it will light quite spectacularly. Just like that.
Water is a commodity. You might not think it is when you have it and it's good, but when you lose it, it's gone. You'll never get it back. Like, we would take a glass of water out of the tap and it would have like an oil base on the top. You could smell it. It would smell like diesel fuel or some kind of oil thing. You know, I used to go to my sink and get a glass of water. I can't do that anymore.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
We were doing just fine until this drilling started. And then all of a sudden we're getting contaminants in our water, and we find it's not safe to drink.
The aspects of hydraulic fracturing that are suspected of contributing to water contamination are largely protected under loopholes to many federal environmental protection laws, most notably the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act. Loopholes in these acts means that drilling operations can be exempted from laws regulating runoff liquids and the types of fluids that can be injected for fracking purposes. The evident potential for environmental havoc that fracking poses calls into question just how it came to be that hydraulic fracturing operations are located so close to people's homes, on their property in fact. As it turns out, many people voluntarily allow natural gas companies to frack their land. Natural gas companies offer substantial sums of money to private individuals in exchange for permission to drill on their land. Many people say that they were unaware of the environmental consequences of fracking when they agreed to lease their land, and that they were deliberately misled by the gas companies.
When we first moved here, it was heaven on earth. Now it's hell on earth.
Hydraulic fracturing and the natural gas industry have brought economic growth to many areas, and the use of natural gas in place of fossil fuels is a contributing factor to the decrease in U.S. carbon pollution emissions over the past 3 years. However, these benefits may be offset by the potential for groundwater contamination and the health risks that it creates. Though there is a lack of scientific consensus regarding the link between fracking and contamination of drinking water, the degree to which use of fracking techniques coincide with instances of polluted drinking water is compelling. In order to make a decision about fracking with the best interest of the public in mind, more scientific study regarding the practice's potential for environmental degradation and health risks is necessary. In the meantime, use of fracking will continue to expand in the Marcellus Shale region. Some people will reap the economic benefits of the natural gas industry, while others will incur its environmental costs.